What's up, everybody? Welcome to the first official video for Retro Modernization, in which I will be explaining and showcasing my Cloudian build that I made playable, because that's the goal with Retro Modernization, just to make unplayable decks and archetypes playable. And with that being said, understand that I'm not trying to make these tournament worthy. That's not the intention. Of course, I left out some cards because my main focus was to focus on the deck itself, not the extra deck per se, not the side deck. The side deck I mainly use as a reminder as to, what cards I could possibly throw in there at some point in time when I feel like changing it up. Not necessarily to switch them out during a match duel. So pretty much like the side build and the extra deck for the most part is null and void. It's not, anything that I focused on. It was just the main deck and the cards that I put in it, trying to make the Cloudians playable, and I've succeeded in doing that. I've made them playable. They're pretty consistent for the most part, and this is the best that I've seen any build made when it comes to the Cloudians. Often, I hear that the Cloudians were, well, I used to hear all the time that the Cloudians are the most difficult archetype to use, and they are difficult. They are not for novices to use. And the thing about the Cloudians that makes them so hard is that they don't have much, but they do have something. In all of these retro modernization videos, if you put the right combination of cards together, you can make it work. And a lot of people, of course, due to the passage of time, they left it alone, especially these days when it seems like the same motif is being used for every single archetype that comes out, every single series of cards. Oh, here's a monster that can destroy spells and traps and other monsters, or here's a monster that when it gets destroyed or when it gets normal summoned or special summoned, it can search out for other cards and things like this. Basically just massive search, massive special summon. That's basically what they have in every archetype. And these days, people have been so subjected to that, to where they feel like unless they have those things, and I literally mean everything that I just named and more, then the archetype is trash if it doesn't have it. And hopefully with this series, I know I said I was supposed to say all this in the introduction and the disclaimer, but I did leave some things out because I just forgot. But my main goal is just to make unplayable decks playable. So hopefully you guys can enjoy these builds. I know I said I wouldn't release any deck profiles for various reasons, including, it being repetitive, everybody playing the same thing, you getting tired of seeing it because it's boring now at that point. But this is just an opportunity for me to share something with you guys and show that, again, if you put your mind to it and you focus hard enough, you can create something very special. And to start off, or to kick off retro modernization, we're going to be talking about the Cloudians. Now, the Cloudians, is a very durable archetype. They can't be destroyed by battle, and all of them, with the exception of a few, have the effects where one they can't be destroyed by battle, and if they get switched to face up defense position, then they get destroyed by their own effects. So that's one of the things that kind of kept people from playing it, and a number of other reasons. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a rundown of all the cards that I have like I keep hearing people open up the door, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a rundown of all the cards, and then I'm going to give you the overall strategy and how you can go about to utilize that strategy with the build, and what the other cards I have in there, like the non-monster cards, like what their purpose is. So to give you a rundown of all the cards, we have 3 Acid Clouds, which is your MST, Atlas, the Zero Stratus, 3 Zero Stratus, 3 Eye of Typhoons, 3 Poison Clouds, 3 Sheep Clouds, 2 Storm Dragons, 1 Dark Hole, 2 Lightning Vortex, 1 Magical Mallet, 2 Mystical Space Typhoons, Two Neptune's amulet, 1 for 1, 2 summon clouds, 3 sanctuaries in the sky, 1 bottomless trap hole, 1 caller haunted, 2 mirror force, 1 torrential reborn, and 1 torrential tribute. Now the main objective of this build, because the Cloudians, their big boss monster is Eye of the Typhoon, and there's no way to special summon. I'm bad. I thought I heard something, but the main objective of the build is to I keep hearing the door opening. I'm sorry for pausing, but yeah, but the big boss monster of the build is Eye of the Typhoon, and since there's no way to like special summon them on the field, you have to rely on. You basically have to rely on tribute summons. Now this is where the ability where they can't be destroyed by battle kind of comes into play, because at the very least you know you'll be able to keep the monsters on the field when it comes down just to the battles. The monsters can be, the monsters can stay on the field. But they can be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Hence the reason why I put the Neptune's amulets in there. And this will work for all the water Cloudians, well, with the exception of Eye of the Typhoon. All the rest of them are water. And this prevents your opponents from being this prevents your monsters from being destroyed by your opponent's card effects, not their own, but your opponent's card effects. So you don't have to worry about your opponent using like a dark hole or like a bottomless trap hole or basically just anything like that. This will protect your monsters for pretty much just like 3 turns until the 3rd end phase after activation. So this is a good card. I didn't want to put 3 of them in there because I felt that would end up being, saying like clutter. You don't want to draw too many of these too quick. But I felt 2 was just the right number of cards to put in there. Also, I put in 3 Sanctuary of the Skies, with the majority of the Cloudians being fairies, with the exception of Poison Cloud and Eye of the Typhoon. All the rest of them are fairies, and since most of them, Acid Cloud, Atlas, Seal Stratus, and Storm Dragon are the ones that you're gonna have to worry about being in face-up attack position. You don't want to take any battle damage from those monsters being in that battle position. So this is where Sanctuary of the Sky comes in, because it prevents you from receiving battle damage from any battles involving fairy type monsters. So this is perfect for any type of Cloudian build, because you don't have to worry about taking damage. It's simple as that. Now the main monsters you're going to have to focus on getting on the field first is Acid Cloud, Atlas, and Cirrostratus. Now the thing with these monsters is that they pretty much can support each other for the most part. Overall, Cloudians activate their effects if they have any like effects to activate, such as Cirrostratus, Atlas, and Acid Cloud, but primarily more so Acid Cloud and Cirrostratus than Atlas. The main thing that you're going to have to focus on is maintaining fog counter control, because that's how they activate their effects, by removing fog counters off of the field or off of themselves in order to activate these effects. I spoke on it earlier. Acid Cloud, he can remove 2 fog counters from itself to destroy 1 spell or trap card on the field. Seal Stratus, it can remove 2 fog counters from itself to destroy 1 monster on the field. Atlas can remove 3 fog counters from anywhere on the field and discard 1 random card from your opponent's hand, which I don't really recommend using this effect, on top of the fact that it uses 3 fog counters. And these days, discarding any card in your opponent hand is kind of risky unless you know for a fact you know what they're playing. So you want to make sure that you don't use it against the wrong builds, you know what I'm saying, like such as the Dark Worlds. Otherwise, you're going to end up activating their effects because they pretty much get their full force of their effects by their opponent um, um, making the player discard the Dark Worlds from their hand. So you got to be careful with that. And on top of the fact, I don't really bother with Atlas. Like, Atlas is just in there as an attack. You know, Atlas is in there basically as a beat stick. There we go. That's the word I wanted to use. Now, Poison Cloud is one of those Cloudians that does not get destroyed, or that can be destroyed by battle, but it all goes to, and on top of that, it's a fiend, so it doesn't have the protection from Sanctuary in the Sky, and it has 0 attack. So any attack that you may take goes directly, you know, to your life points. Full, you know, like you got to take the full attack from that. But what it does have is an effect that can take your opponent's monsters off of the field and also inflict some burn damage to your opponent. And a good thing about this is that, you know, if you just so happen to put three poison clouds on the field, you know, all of their effects would activate when they get destroyed by battle from your opponent's monsters. But you're going to have to make sure to really be in a position to receive some damage from your cards, because the way that they work is that they have to be face up at the start of the damage step. So when damage gets calculated, they have to be face up. That means they can't be, you know, flip face up from face down defense position, because then the effect won't work. Which is the reason why using Poison Cloud can be sometimes dangerous. You just got to make sure that you're prepared to receive that damage. Just know when to use it. You know when to use Poison Cloud. Otherwise, you can put yourself in a bad position and not have the necessary life points to do what you need to do. Sheep Cloud is in there for 2 reasons. One, for the tokens. You know, it puts 2 tokens on the field that can only be used when that can only be tributed when you're tribute summoning a Cloudian monster, i.e. Eye of the Typhoon. And on top of that, it also acts as fodder for Storm Dragon. Storm Dragon is a Cloudian that I basically use as a backup in order to get more fall counters on either Acid Cloud or Cirrostratus. And on top of that, you know, with Sheep Cloud, it's already in the graveyard after it gets destroyed, so it's just there. It's really not that many uses for it after that. Of course, there's, you know, I put in one call on Haunted, but in best case scenario, you're probably going to end up using that on Eye of the Typhoon, or either Acid Cloud, Atlas, or Cirrostratus for maybe an Exceed summon. So Sheep Cloud can go towards, you know, something like Storm Dragon being summoned, and that's basically what Storm Dragon is in there for. Now, I put I had originally had 3 Summon Clouds in the build, but here's the thing. Like, Summon Cloud doesn't remain on a field like other cards would do. And on top of that, with everything else I had in there, I felt it was only good to only use 2 of these. So it's good to get, you know, either Cirrostratus, Atlas, or Acid Cloud on the field. Get that extra summon out there, just to either 1, have another monster on the field, or 2, get that extra summon that you, well, not extra summon, because in order for you to use it, you can't control any monsters. But it's just to give you something on the field to maintain some type of field advantage. And since you have to use it when there's no other monsters on the field, and your main monsters that are going to be in attack mode is either Acid Cloud, Atlas, or Cirrostratus, I didn't feel like it was a need to add too many summon clouds in the build, so I only put 2 in there. Sanctuary in the Sky, I put this in there, but I didn't add any type of search cards such as Planetary Pathfinder or Planet Pathfinder or even Terraforming. Basically, because I found that the build, it pretty much, works itself out, and eventually you end up getting it. I felt like adding terraforming was pretty much going to end up being, well, from my experience, let me say it like this: terraforming, it ended up hurting me more than it helped me during the times that I played it. You can call it a string of bad luck, a string of bad matches, but I've had more success winning duels without it than with it. Even though Sanctuary in the Sky is a good card for the, for Acid Cloud, Atlas, and Cirrostratus, and as well as all the other fairy monsters in the build, it doesn't really need to be used in order for you to be a success with the build. And this falls into all the other cards that you see in here, like cards like Mirror Force, Torrential Tribute, Dark Hole, and Lightning Vortex. Because one of the main objectives for the build is that, well, for one, the Cloudians have very low attack power, with the exception of Eye of the Typhoon. So you want to get your opponent's monsters off the field as much as possible, just to leave them open so that you can inflict direct damage onto your opponent. So I put in Lightning Vortex for that very reason. 2 Lightning Vortexes for that very reason. A Dark Hole and Torrential Tribute, it's in there for that same reason as well. Bottomless Trap Hole is, of course, that speaks for itself. I don't need to elaborate on that. And Call It a Haunted is for getting another monster on the field for Eye of the Typhoon, or for reusing Poison Cloud or Sheep Cloud, or to get another one, or to get Atlas, Cirrostratus, or Acid on the field if you don't have Eye of the Typhoon in the graveyard already to use it on. It can be of help, but you don't want to add too many in there. That's why I only put 1. With the exception of cards like Summon Cloud and things like that, you don't really need it. And now for the, I got 1 for 1 in there, of course, to get Sheep Cloud out faster, which is helpful, and Magical Mallet in the random event that you may end up drawing 3 Eye of the Typhoons and nothing else to use with it. You can shuffle your those cards back in the build, and you can draw some new ones. So overall, this is just what the build is. Take out your opponent's monsters, use Acid Cloud, Cirrostratus's effects, and Poison Cloud's effects to get rid of your opponent's cards. Maintain fall counters on the field by either normal summoning, Atlas, Acid Cloud, or Cirrostratus, or by special summoning Storm Dragon and using its effect to get them on the field, and using Sheep Cloud as fodder for Storm Dragon, and then using the tokens that you would get from Street Cloud to summon Eye of the Typhoon. And use Neptune's Amulet to protect your water Cloudians from getting destroyed by your opponent's card effects, while getting rid of your opponent's monsters using Lightning Vortex and Mirror Force. Now you might want to replace Mirror Force with cards like Dimensional Prison. pardon me, use cards like Dimensional Prison, because some people may feel that they work better. Otherwise, just keep Mirror Force in there. Stupid inactivity, and we're back. But yeah, overall, like the build works fine. It's the best that I could do at the time. And mind you, like I haven't touched this build in a while, so of course there's some cards that you would want to add into it in order to make it just a tad bit better, because those cards wasn't out yet at the time. So feel free. Of course, I'm giving the deck profile out there for you guys to do what you will with it. And as far as the extra deck goes, Fairy Cheer Girl is in there for obvious reasons, to maintain some type of draw power in there. And Embodiment of Crime, Embodiment of Punishment, and Lionheart is in there for the rare occurrence. Like, these are really just backups. I don't really have them in there for any real purpose, but these are in there just for backups in the wild and random occurrence that you end up getting 3 sheep clouds on the field and you feel like you want to exceed into something for whatever reason. That's why it's in there. I never really had a purpose to use them. They're like, I just like to cover my own ass, in the event that I may have all the other monsters in the graveyard already and I just need something that, just to fall back on. Lionheart comes to mind, Embodiment of Punishment and Embodiment of Crime. You can work something in there. At least you'll have something to use, because you don't want to just have like 3 monsters that summon tokens that you really don't have anything to use on. But it never really came to that. I just use that as a backup plan in the event something crazy happens. But Fairy Cheer Girl, its draw power ability does come in handy for this archetype and for this build, and that's pretty much all there is to it. So I want you guys to try it out. Of course, add your own little things in there. It's a lot of fall counter cards that I didn't bother adding into the build because I felt like they cause more clutter than anything else. Because if you use one, it's kind of like you kind of get sucked into using all the rest of them. And I just kept it at a minimum, and I just relied on the monsters that added fall counters. And so far, it's playable. It's playable. It works. It helps. And that's pretty much it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this Cloudian build, and I hope to hear from you guys. Tell me what you think. Again, it's meant to be playable, not meant to be used like any other archetype out there. It's different. It's difficult to use, but in the right hands, they can be a force to be reckoned with, and I have proven that. So with that being said, hope you guys enjoy the build, and I'll see you in the future for more retro modernization. Until then, peace, and thanks for watching.